So the big story in football today is what happened last night in the Dolphins-Bills game. Tua Tagovailoa and concussions. And this was scary already, and it was another instance last night. He has had 3 on-field concussions that we know about in NFL games with scary video that accompanied them. The first one was back early in the season in 2022 when the Bills' Matt Milano hit him late on a pass play, and he got up to run to the huddle, took a few steps, and fell. And the whole world was spinning on him, and he fell, and that was his first diagnosed. Actually, I don't know if that was even diagnosed, but that was a first on-field incident where it looked like he suffered a concussion. But the second one was a concussion. That was last year against the Bengals when he was scrambling and he got spun around and thrown to the ground. And that was the first time we saw the fencing, the seizing up of the arms. And that was a very scary video. And then it happened again last night.
Yeah, in all instances, these aren't the typical hits you would say, oh my God, he's got to be concussed on it, because it's not helmet-to-helmet contact. What had happened in the first two was like his head hit the ground, right? And it was the whiplash from hitting the ground and coming back that did the damage. The one last night, I mean, it's not contact to the head, it's contact to the upper body, but because he's susceptible to more concussions now because he's had them, the damage was done by just getting hit. And yeah, he should have slid. With 100%, he should have slid. He got the first down, now slide. And he kept going. But the hit he takes from Damar Hamlin, of all people, did not look like it was a vicious hit by any means.
No.
And then you're watching him kind of sprawl on the ground, and the fencing kind of takes place again with his arms, rolls on his side, and I'm like, that. Everybody had the same thought.
Not again.
Please don't be this again, and I hope it's not a career ender. And but this is a guy who's had several concussions in a very short span of time. Just a couple of years. That you have to wonder that. And Mike McDaniel, his coach, came out today and he's like, look, all due respect, let's not talk about the future. It's not right to talk about his future. We just want to make sure that he gets healthy.
If this is your son, if this is your brother, if this is a family member, what would you say to him? Because if this was my child and there's a lot more known about CTE and all that is known about CTE, I feel like I would be telling him, please walk away. Please. Don't risk your health any longer. I know the game is a beautiful thing and you love it, but your health, your long-term health is at jeopardy here. Brain injuries are such a scary thing. Now, this is just if this was a member of my family. I'm not telling Tua what he should do, but I'm telling you what I would do if one of my boys had suffered repeated concussions, and the scariest of them. Like some concussions take place and you don't know about it because there doesn't seem to be a discernible, obvious moment when the head injury took place. He's had 3 of the scariest type of concussions. And I would be advising him not to play. If this were your kid or your brother or your family member, what would you say?
I mean, it's been they've been so clear and obvious on the field. I mean, you have to, I would probably say, take as much time and more so than you need to stay away. You have to get healthy and listen to what your doctors have to say and see many doctors. Don't just see a team doctor. Go independently, get second opinions, and what are they saying? And what I want is for my family member to understand everything about this. Like, you become an expert on CTE, you become an expert on concussions and traumatic brain injuries and all that. You become an expert so that you can make an educated decision on what you're going to do. And if that decision is, it's just the odds aren't in my favor that I'm going to be able to walk away from this sport without having issues, then don't do it.
They talk about the multiplier of a concussion and the increased susceptibility to it. Every time you get one, you're more likely to get another one. And this is where I get into the NFL's responsibility, and they have to take a long, hard look in the mirror at their own policies, as does the NFLPA, the Players Association, which are the two sides that sort of come together and negotiate how they handle things like this. One of my first thoughts is for a player that suffers a diagnosed concussion or maybe a repeated, is this where it becomes mandatory that a player wears a guardian cap? The which I think 5 or 6 players wore in week 1 in games, the padded addition to the helmets that are believed to help guard against brain injuries. If Tua, like, does the NFL and the NFLPA get together and say, if he comes back, and I don't even know if they should let him come back, but if he comes back, that he's required to wear a guardian cap?
Frankly, I'd wear a guardian cap regardless.
Yeah,
I don't care if it looks stupid. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect, the weight of anything where we're all of a sudden, oh my God, my head is so heavy I can't throw a football. It just, if it's there to protect you, do it. Keep your mouth guard in and chomp on the mouth guard while you're playing, because that'll help when it comes to concussions as well. I can't believe players still play. Like, it seems like half the league, when they're out there on the field, their mouth guards are just dangling from their face masks. They're not even in their mouth. Like, it helped.
There's money on the table here, and that's when it gets really uncomfortable. According to their reporting, Tua's contract has $167 million guaranteed for injury, 43 of which has already been paid. So he's owed $124 million left. And it's guaranteed if he is medically not cleared to play. But if he gets cleared to play and chooses to retire, he forfeits $124 million, which begs the question, who is in charge of clearing him to play? Because it's a $124 million designation made by a doctor. Is it the Dolphins team doctor?
Right.
Who is the one that makes that call? Because I would suspect, Gator, that it would be pretty easy to find a physician somewhere that would not clear Tua to play. But somebody has to make the official call on this. And that is not clear.
Well, it comes down to his decision, what he wants to do. But if let's say he decides that's enough, I'm out, I would have to imagine that the Dolphins would work with Tua to come up with some kind of a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
That would seem what would be right to me, because, this thing is, it would seem pretty easy to find a doctor to say whatever you want him to say.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a divisive issue anyway. And this isn't casting aspersions on the medical people. This is just, some people can clear it and some people can't. It's like there's debate on either side of this. Well, with time away, you can heal up, you can be ready to play again. Or somebody will say, absolutely not. If you get hit again, you're done.
I mean, I can't imagine, because it's funny. I'm watching First Take this morning, and all the former players are going to go, they all said the same thing. He's going to get cleared to play.
Yeah, it's just a matter of when. Like,
when
maybe a week, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. They all think at some point he's going to clear concussion protocol, and I use that in air quotes because that's what happens, right? Eventually. But Gator, as nice as it would be if, like, hey, they just work together. If Tua did decide to walk away, to work together with the Dolphins on some kind of common ground, it's not always that case. Like, what if Tua wants all his money and the Dolphins are like, no.
No, you're right. It's not always that case. I mean, I'm assuming something like that can get done, and just what little I know about Tua, he strikes me as the kind of guy that has always thought about life outside of football, and he can walk away, and he's already made millions and millions of dollars that he can walk away if he wants to, and that the Dolphins would still want to compensate him somehow. It may not be the full amount.
Well, that's where I'm saying we don't know Tua,
I
though.
have no idea.
You don't know. I mean, he may want all of it. And Calvin Johnson was pissed at the Lions for how many years for $1 million signing bonus or whatever it was. $120-some million and $1 million, right? And according to another source, apparently the Dolphins do have insurance on that injury settlement where they would cover up to $49 million of that 167 total. So it's just basically it's a lot of legal stuff if you get into the contract.
Yeah, you can't. The thing is, there's no way that a contract language or money should impact this decision.
Exactly.
Obviously, in the real world, it does, but it shouldn't. It's not right, and obviously, we all know why decisions are made in almost every front in the real world. The driving force of decisions is money, and so you can't deny that it may have an impact. Now, maybe the language of the contract, the Spot Track who reported this didn't say which doctor. Let's be clear about that. They didn't say it was a Dolphins team doctor or if any doctor didn't clear him. And if there has been reporting out there on that, we haven't seen it. But, you know, the conflict between a doctor who can make a $120 million decision for an organization, I mean, that's a tough deal because, you know, I don't want to say that the doctor's up to no good too. But I just, is there any, I just don't, I wouldn't tell my family member, yeah, you'll be fine.
Well, my question for you guys is, I think we all agree Tua is his own man and deserves to make his own decision on what he feels right for himself and his family. We have opinions on what we think he should do and if we were part of his inner circle, but he's going to ultimately make his own decision. My question to you guys is, does the Miami Dolphins and the NFL have a decision to make where they take that decision out of his hands at some point?
It's a great question.
They're his employer, essentially.
It's
right?
the NFLPA, though, that would fight for him if he wanted to be fought for. But you want to think that, and I know that this is going to get an eye roll, okay? But I'm going to say it out loud. You want to think that the league cares about the health of the players. You want to think that.
I want to think that too, but at the same time, we're focusing on Tua because he's a quarterback, and a quarterback that's the glamour position, and we've seen the plays, and you know, there have been 3 very obvious injury concerns with him over the years. But how many players have way more than 3 in their careers, and they just keep on playing, but you don't hear about it as much because they're not the star quarterback who's the headliner every week.